يزجي سحابا ثم يؤلف بينه ثم يجعله ركاما فترى الودق يخرج من خلاله وينزل من السماء من جبال فيها من برد فيصيب به من يشاء ويصرفه عن من يشاء يكاد سنا برقه يذهب بالأبصار يقلب الله الليل والنهار إن في ذلك لعبرة لأولي الأبصار صدق الله العظيم. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Do you not see that Allah gently drives the clouds towards their places, where He intends to rain to fall, then condenses them, cause the water vapor to form into water droplets, and stakes them in layers, after which, when Allah decides, you will see rain falling from between them. Then from the mountainous clouds in the sky, Allah showers down abundantly some of the hail, by which He strikes wherever and whatever He wills, thereby causing harm to whoever He wills, and averts from whoever He wills. The flash of His lightning is so bright that it can almost snatch away eyesights of the people. Allah alternates the night and the day. Indeed, in that is a lesson for those who have vision. May Allah give us complete understanding according of the Holy Quran, according to the path of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Thank you.
Jazakallah. I would now like to call upon the stage our honorable guests. I would now request our honorable chief guest, Engineer Mohammad Najib Haroon, Chairman Pakistan Engineering Council, to please take a seat on the stage. I would now request our keynote speaker, Mr. Christoph Kreppen, Manager Practice, Environment and Natural Resources and Blue Economy, South Asia, at the World Bank, to please take a seat on the stage. I would now request Mr. Faisal Ahmed, Secretary Planning of Planning and Development Department, Government of Sindh, to please take a seat on the stage. I would now request Dr. Sarosh Hashmat Lodi, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, NED University of Engineering and Technology, and the Conference Chair of the International Conference on Sustainable Engineering and Development 2022, to please take a seat on the stage. I would now request the Conference Co-Chair, Engineer Suhail Bashir, Chairman, Institute of Engineers, Pakistan, Karachi Center, to please take a seat on the stage. I would now request Engineer Abbas Sajid, past President, ASHRAE, Pakistan Chapter, to please take a seat on the stage. I would now request Dr. Nauman Ahmed, UNESCO Chairholder, Sustainable Urban Region, to please take a seat on the stage. Thank you. I would now request Dr. Sarosh Hashmat Lodi, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, NED University of Engineering and Technology, and the Conference Chair of the International Conference on Sustainable Engineering and Development 2022, to please come forward and present the welcome address and the conference overview.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Respected Najib Harun Saab, Mr. Kripan, Mr. Faisal Ukeli, dear participants of today's conference, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. We should have done this thing long time ago. It was only after the devastating rain and the floods that we had, which devastated not the entire country, especially the province of Sindh, we realized the importance of sustainability and sustainable built environment. So we thought that it's better to be late than never. And hence, we have organized this thing, this event. I'm so grateful to all of you for participating in this event. And above all, I would like to extend my thanks to the government of Sindh, who willingly partnered and supported this event. Otherwise, that probably would have been a little more challenging for us. Sir, I've been working as the Vice Chancellor for almost 5.5 years. And I've spent all my life in academia and research and training young minds. So I've learned to live for future. I don't live in future, but I live for future. And one of my biggest responsibility, or probably the only responsibility, is to produce quality human capital for the future so that they combat the challenges of the future. So we, about 5-6 years ago, we started implementing some sustainability efforts in the universities, because I think the universities are the workshops or the places where the students must learn firsthand what sustainability is all about so that they can practice. I must mention here that NED University is ranked among the top 800 universities in the world, the entire world, which are measured against the implementation of SDGs all across the academia. So it's really heartening to see that in quality education, which is SDG number 4, we are ranked among the top 200 universities of the world. We are ranked among the top 300 universities of the world in industry, innovation, and infrastructure. We are ranked in the top 400 universities of the world in clean water and sanitation. Not a single drop of water is disposed of without being recycled. And we have been doing it for the last 15 years now. And I can go on and on forever. And the idea is to make sure that the students who are studying different disciplines of engineering primarily and other disciplines are exposed to the responsibility that they have to shoulder in future. We have pledged to become carbon neutral by 2030. When we initially started, it was just a dream. But I'm so happy to mention here that we have planted 1,504 trees at different locations in form of Miyawaki urban forest, 15 Miyawaki urban forests. We have started transforming from the conventional source of energy to renewable source of energy. And our carbon footprint, whatever carbon footprint that we produce annually, we are mitigating about 21% of that carbon footprint now. And I hope that in another 7-8 years, we shall be able to become carbon neutral, inshallah. In gender equality, we have more than 40% of females studying in different disciplines of the university, and that is SDG number 5. So as an institution, we have been playing our role to implement, and we have also decided that from the next academic session, a compulsory course on SDG must be taught to all the students who will study at NED University. And the idea is to expose them to the challenges of the future. what we had seen in the recent monsoon was beyond imagination, beyond any description. And probably it will take a long time before we recover, if we ever recover. But the scar of that event will remain a long memory in our minds. I was told that there was massive rain in Jeddah yesterday. So this climate change has started showing the effects. But above all, the world is becoming more and more responsible. And it was so heartening to know that during the COP27 last week, the world has pledged to create a fund to help mitigate the climate change in the developing countries. And I'm sure this will go a long way in changing the environment. Because Earth, unfortunately, is becoming unsustainable. People used to say that climate change is real, but it's going to come, but it has shown the effects in the last couple of years, and it is becoming more and more severe and more erratic. That's why there are about 200 people present today who are like-minded people, and we have to synergize and work together to make an impact or to try and mitigate the climate change to our best of our capacity. And hence we've requested the government of Sindh, the Institution of Engineers, and all of you to join hands together to work together. There are a few initiatives that I'm involved in. We are developing the first Pakistan Green Building Code with the help from the Pakistan Engineering Council, and they are very forthcoming in supporting us, and we are almost at the final stages. Hopefully by the end of this year, the Green Building Code of Pakistan will be ready for the practitioners to use. I must also mention that very recently NED University has completed a project on developing green construction guidelines for the Naya Pakistan Housing Development Authority, and the assignment was completed only last week. So, we are trying to do whatever we can, but this is not one man's job or one institution's job. We are all together here, and we have to pledge to do whatever we can to mitigate this climate change, which otherwise will make this home unsustainable. With these words, I once again thank all of you for participating, and I'm looking forward to a very meaningful interaction today and tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would now request our keynote speaker, Mr. Christoph Kreppen, Practice Manager, Environment, Natural Resources, and Blue Economy South Asia at the World Bank, to please come forward to deliver his keynote address to the audience. Mr. Christoph Kreppen is Practice Manager in the South Asia Region Vice Presidency for the Environment, Natural Resources, and Blue Economy Global Practice. He joined the bank in 1998 as a coordinator in the environment sector in Africa. He has since held various positions, including Lead Environmental Specialist and Program Manager of Key Environment Programs in Africa, as well as Lead Environment Specialist and Sector Leader in the East Asia and Pacific region. Before moving to the South Asia region, he was Practice Manager covering Vietnam, Philippines, and Southeast Asia for the Environment, Natural Resources, and the Blue Economy Global Practice. We welcome you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at the Conference on Sustainable Engineering and Development, and I'm very happy to represent the bank. Thank you, sir, for the invitation. To help kick off the discussion, to get started with discussion this afternoon, what I'm going to do is to offer a few pointers that needs to be thought through in the context of thinking sustainable development and engineering. And these pointers are going to be framed in the context of the need to factor in climate change and to build resilient communities. What I'm going to share today is based on some analytics that the bank has done recently in the context of the Climate Change and Development Report. And that's a piece of advisory work that actually was launched at the COP27 2 weeks ago in Egypt. So first, I'm going to start by placing this discussion also in the broader context of the macroeconomic situation and the socio-economic progress. And while here in Pakistan there's been some good progress made on poverty reduction, there's been some progress made also on growth, but it's clear that growth has been slow. Now, we know that to address that, there's a number of enabling elements, a number of structural issues that will need to be addressed in terms of productivity, in terms of addressing a number of subsidy schemes, in terms of managing debt. The message here is that if we want to make progress on addressing climate and boosting sustainable development in Pakistan, those elements are conditioned, or those elements are conditioned that will need to be factored in. Climate is already here. You know that well, you've been on the first stage of those issues. Pakistan was very much featured and acted as a leader on the COP27 in Egypt. The figures, you know, are impressive in terms of the scale, the magnitude of the impact as a result of the flood. This is followed also an important heat waves, which itself has had a number of impact and implication earlier on. So clearly, the past 12 months have been an extremely challenging and difficult year. It has been difficult for Pakistan. It's been nothing difficult for the world. It has shown what is going to happen in a number of places. So if we look at what's going on, is that what we have seen this year, of course, is not expected to happen every year, but if we look at the frequency and the likelihood of things repeating itself, it's clear that all the science, you know, as you know, show that this is not going in the right direction. You've got a few figures here in terms of the likelihood of a specific crisis, you know, specific challenges to happen in terms of high temperature, in terms of flooding, in terms of increasing air pollution. And you see that if we are in a, you know, depending on the type of scenario that we end up with in terms of global warming, the differences are significant in terms of the impact to expect. And if you look at the positioning of Pakistan in the world, we clearly are part of a highly vulnerable part of the world. Meanwhile, Pakistan has been and is a fairly low emitter in terms of GHG, in terms of greenhouse gas emission. And if you look at it worldwide, the share of Pakistan is fairly limited at this point in time. However, we know that it's going to grow, and we know that the carbon intensity by output of in Pakistan is actually fairly high compared to other countries in the same, let's say, categories of and stage of development path. So clearly, there's some work to do at this level. And when you look at the discussion on engineering, this is also a dimension that needs to be factored in. There are opportunities here to decarbonize the economy, while at the same time addressing and taking care of short-term needs. Okay, so those are. Okay, so in terms of what to do and where we have focused the analytics, we basically have organized a bit of discussion around three sectoral priorities and three enabling conditions moving forward. One is on transforming the agriculture and food system. One is on working on cities and getting resilient and livable cities. Third is on the energy transition and the energy agenda. And there's an important, of course, dialogue here that on the bank side we've been having for some time. And then two elements that we qualify as enabling environment, enabling conditions, right? One is working on the human capital, and we know that there's going to be a need for improved human capital in the context of the investment path moving forward, and that's part on the bank side of the priority that we want to outline. And then, of course, there's a reform agenda in terms of policy, in terms of incentives, in terms of institutions, in terms of financing, both in terms of domestic financing, in terms of fiscal policies, but also in terms of attracting international investment. So I'm going to go briefly through each of those priorities, right? On agriculture, so the recommendation that have come up, from the analytical work and through consultation that we have had in the country is clearly in terms of the subsidy agenda and in terms of what it means for on-farm investment. That's clearly an implication for the engineering priorities on the financing of specific engineering elements. Then there's clearly some technology in terms of climate-smart agriculture that needs to come in. There's a lot of work in the irrigation and drainage area, so in terms of water resources management, and that's clearly also an entry point that is important in terms of the discussion on engineering and sustainable development. And then there's a lot of discussion on infrastructure, but there's clearly a big focus to put also on what we call natural infrastructure, right? So basically a number of natural systems that has gotten extremely degraded over the years, and we see that some of the impact of the flood events of the past month has been exacerbated, has been increased by a degradation of this natural infrastructure. So a mix of what we call nature-based solution as well as grey infrastructure, that mix is also part of the thing that we see needs to move forward. And so when there's a discussion on engineering, those are elements and kind of direction of travel that needs to be further taken into account. In terms of the cities, right? A lot of the focus that we see needed is, of course, on upstream investment in urban planning and the related management capabilities on urban planning. There's clearly an important agenda in terms of urban mobility and greening the system. We see, and on the bank side, we started to invest, in particular in Karachi here, on waste management and the related urban and municipal services. There's clearly a need to move towards a more circular economy. That has an implication in terms of the type of engineering to prioritize, in terms of the type of investment to make, and in terms of the type of longer-term mechanism, in terms of maintenance, in terms of fiscal transfer and all of that. So all that reform agenda needs to come in support of the evolution of the urban services, in particular linked to waste management. So on the urban agenda, overall, the discussion on fiscal transfer and the financing of urban services needs to be at the core of the discussion related to investing in services, investing in new engineering. In energy, so a few key priorities here. Of course, the continued transition from fossil fuels. There's been a lot of work done on renewable energy over the past years. The bank is very much involved. This is an unfinished agenda. There's a lot of policy enabling environment work also to continue to be done. And it's clear that further investment in innovative technology is going to require this policy transformation moving forward. It's the work on energy efficiency and getting at all to a number of entry points, a much more effective efficiency of the inputs. On energy in industry and transport, there's also, of course, some big priorities here that do then connect to the type of engineering and investment that is needed for sustainable development, right? So a big agenda in energy. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more discussion this afternoon on this. By the way, the report is available. It is not, we could share the QR code later, so they can be downloaded and you can look at the details. In terms of the cost-cutting enabling condition, right, on human capital, right? So clearly, everything that is going to support a stronger human capital moving forward, including working on stunting, working on drinking water, working on sanitation, is important, and there's not going to be longer-term, large-scale progress in addressing climate if this aspect and these priorities are not taken into account. On the bank side, we have scaled up significantly the engagement and the investment in human capital over the past years, and it's currently one of the big priority of the engagement framework. As part of that, and in the context of crisis that will continue to happen, social protection and the social protection system are key. And for this, it's not only a need for fiscal transfer, but it's of course a need for a system and deliver a system that needs to be reformed and needs to be scaled up. Okay, in terms of enabling condition also thematically, right, it cuts across different sectoral priorities. The mobilization of financing, you know, bringing private and public financing together, bringing domestic and international finance is key. And so one of the things that, you know, which we're discussing with government and which other countries have engaged into is the development of a comprehensive financing framework for climate and have an implementation plan. We discussed, I mentioned earlier, the discussion, the agenda on subsidy reform. This is not something new. It cuts across the board, but it's clearly a discussion that needs to take place when you see the volume of subsidy that go into the system. It's clear that significant investment in climate-friendly priorities and sector will not be able, especially using domestic resources, without some work on reforming subsidy. On the international finance, right, you may have followed a number of discussions that have taken place recently, including in the context of COP27, but also in the context of bringing together public and private finance. We could discuss that a bit later, but that's clearly an important and critical strategic direction of travel. So on this, basically the message on this slide, and without getting into the details, is that there needs to be a framework in terms of mainstreaming in terms of mainstreaming, factoring the climate risk across policy, financing, and an institution. So we will get back to that, but that's also, as part of the architecture of the climate response, that's one of the key priorities on which countries have started to act. So, in terms of the way forward, I think that three elements here is that those ideas and those priorities needs to be socialized. On our side, we're going to have quite a bit of discussion and engagement moving forward based on the analytics provided by this climate and development report. And that socialization needs to be done across private and public. I think that the audience today and the participant is an important venue to do that, but more work will be done in them socializing that. In terms of priorities, it's clear there's a lot to be done, and that a prioritization exercise, province by province and federal level is going to be needed. And then, in terms of support, there's going to be a need for alignment of development partners, of private and public sector as well. But all that needs to come together as part of a comprehensive climate response to support investment and to support investment in engineering in particular. So with that, I will stop here. I'm pretty sure that my the colleagues, later are going to get back to some of those ideas. And please, have a look at the report. There's a lot of modeling that has been done. There's a lot of deeper analytical assessment that are presented, and I'm pretty sure that you will find it useful. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would now request Mr. Faisal Ahmed, Secretary Planning and Planning Development Department, Government of Sindh, to please come forward to share the sustainable development initiatives by the Government of Sindh. We welcome you, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Chair, Dr. Saroj, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. First of all, on behalf of Planning and Development Department, Government of Sindh, we really congratulate the organizers for holding this very important event. And of course, in respect to the condition which we are going through in the post-flood situation, we are definitely looking forward that in terms of getting the rehabilitation and the reconstruction process, the efforts which are being in process being undertaken by the government and as well as from all the stakeholders should be aligned in a way that whatever the efforts and the resources which will put in place for this our rehabilitation exercise should lead us towards a sustainable development process, because of course in the current situation definitely in terms of the resources there's a scarce of resources and the challenges already we have in our country. But definitely we cannot be, we will be able to sustain if, God forbid, such kind of these devastations come along and kind of the climate change, what we have been experiencing now. So, of course, in terms of the duration of coming up of such the floods, the rains, the climate, the processes, we will maybe incurring after every year or so. So for that matter, we really need to see and that how all the efforts being undertaken currently should come along on a sustainable manner. So to further to highlight a few of the workings which the Planning and Development Department in respect to the Sustainable Development Goals been performing. Taking this opportunity, I would like to highlight before this August forum And of course, in terms of making the collaboration and working hand with the academia, Planning and Development Department is warmly would welcome the suggestions, the ideas coming along from this event, so that it should become part of our working exercise and could help us in bringing in a proper results. In talking about the Sustainable Development Unit, of course it was established in 2017, and the purpose was basically for the supporting of the operationalization and localization of the SDGs at the provincial level, and focusing on the mainstreaming of 17 SDGs with 169 targets. Basically, when we talk about the Sustainable Development Goals and their altogether how the working of our development strategies should be aligned with the targets. Of course, it was not an easy task, because in terms of talking about such an ambitious goals which have been given. But for that matter, still the Planning and Development Department had basically came forward with a commitment that by establishing a professional unit with the support from the UNDP, we should be basically aligning all our development portfolios in line with the targets. For that matter, through this framework, the SDG unit has developed a provincial SDG framework for SIN to serve as a roadmap for mainstreaming and localization of SDGs, and to enable the institution and stakeholders to achieve the targets. And also the prioritized SDGs as defined by the government of SIN, they should come in place for that matter. And in terms of for the monitoring and reporting, strengthening of the SDGs purpose, the tracking and reporting SDG implicate a complex data challenge, and basically number of activities have been undertaken through which now we have the expenditure tracking program is already in place, in which the development funds which are being expensed out on the development scheme, there's a complete process of tracking is available, and that how much the expenditure in terms of the SDG goals are being made, and from where the analysis are also being drawn by our the unit, and it gives us a guideline that the coming financial years and development plans, how they are need to be aligned and how they are need to be retracked and bring improvement into that exercise. With the public financial management team in the finance department, the planning department basically we are collaborating with them, and the exercise for mapping the entire development portfolio is already been in place. And in terms of the development of master plans, with one of the unit of the planning department, urban unit, we have also been able to basically align those master plans targets with respect to the SDGs in terms of the 6 priority SDG goals, which the Sindh government has basically has prioritized to achieve them. And Islamkot Talka has been declared as one of the first model SDG Talka, where it has been ensured those priority SDGs goals should be aligned, and all the activities being going along into that Talka are being achieved. And for that matter, the department has basically made in collaboration with Angro Foundation and Third Foundation, and for that matter, we have been working together in this exercise. In terms of coming to just to give you a highlight about the current exercise which we have been conducting in the Planning and Development Department. Of course, this post-flood rehabilitation and reconstruction planning. And for that matter, the most targeted, the affected sectors includes the housing, irrigation, the education facilities, the drainage and water supply sectors. So in the immediate and the projects which are already been approved and now been into this will be exercising are the construction of the houses and the irrigation network, rehabilitation of the irrigation and infrastructure, drainage infrastructure, rehabilitation of the major roads, the livelihood restoration, and the rescue 1122 strengthening. And it also include one of the project which is basically focusing on Sindh Human Capital Investment Project and Sindh Water and Agriculture Transformation Projects. So in terms of the efforts which have been undertaken in the department, we are also very much looking forward from the academia, from such institutions which can play and can collaborate with the department to see and to strengthen the efforts being undertaken. So we would definitely like to keep our relation and continue our would like to have a coordination with the stakeholders, and looking forward that the outcomes being finalized in this conference will be shared and will be seen into some practical actions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would now request our Honorable Chief Guest, Engineer Mohammad Najib Haroon, Chairman, Pakistan Engineering Council, to please come forward for his address. Engineer Najib Haroon is an accomplished engineer. He holds a master's degree in civil engineering from Oregon State University, United States. After returning to Pakistan in 1987, he started his own construction business, which has flourished into flagship companies in Karachi and across the country. Engineer Najib Haroon has also been an elected member of the National Assembly and chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on the Construction of the National Assembly. He has been elected as the chairman Pakistan Engineering Council in 2021 in the Engineers National Election of PEC. Currently, he also holds the charge of the chairman of Pakistan Engineers Foundation, creating a better opportunity for the Pakistani engineers. We welcome you, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Prayer of Prophet Moses from the Holy Quran. Rabbi shrahli sadri wa yassirli amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. O Allah, expand my heart for me and ease my affairs for me, and untie the knot from my tongue so that people may understand my speech. Honorable from the World Bank, Mr. Christoph Krippen, Mr. Faisal Ahmad Ukaili Saab, Dr. Sarosh Lodi Saab, Sohail Bashir Saab, Sajid Saab, Dr. Naman Saab. I see very senior engineers here sitting in the front row. I see Zagam Mahmood Rizvi Saab, Farat Adil Saab, Shah Sohail Saab, thank you very much, Admiral Shah Sohail Saab and others, mashallah. Dr. Shai Saab is also there. It's indeed an honor to be here among such an august gathering. It's very appetizing to, and I believe most of the people here are professionals and mostly engineers. So I'll take this opportunity to express myself. Of course, the Sustainable Development Goals is the word, is the phrase that I've been hearing of in Islamabad. A little over 4 years that I have spent there as member of the parliament, as chairman of the standing committee on housing and works, and last a little over 15 months as chairman of the Pakistan Engineering Council. Of course, sustainable engineering and development, sustainable built environment, and communities, that still remains an objective
that still remains a dream. I've had exposure of meeting our friends in Islamabad from the World Bank also, and I'm trying to build bridges there, because somehow, somewhere, unfortunately, we have been failing while we are trying to achieve the objectives and the goals. And the recent devastation from the flood, the rains, in Sindh, in the whole, particularly in Sindh, Lower Punjab, and of course up in the north, were a reflection how everything which was supposed to be sustainable was washed away. The entire infrastructure on some counts, the bridges, the dams, of course the earthen dams, roads, whatever existed was washed away. So maybe we would have to dig in a little deeper. Where are we going wrong? What are we missing? Why are we failing? First of all, of course, the resources are scarce. The competence is there, the engineers, the scientists, the professionals. By any stretch of imagination, they have been very, very successful in every part of the world, and most Pakistani engineers and professionals were instrumental in building the entire Middle East, their infrastructure. If you go up there in North America and Europe, in nearly every university, in nearly every consulting firm, you will see Pakistani engineers contributing. We are disproportionate in so many ways. On one count, we are among the 7 nations of the world who are nuclear, who are atomic powers for that matter. And on the other counts, whether it goes to literacy or health or skill development and others, maybe we are in the later part. The other day in soccer, now the World Cup is being played, I was reading we are at number 194. We are the 5th largest nation in the world population-wise. And among maybe 200 nations, we are sitting at number 194 as far as soccer is concerned. So we do have the talent, we do have the potential, but unfortunately we have not been able to put that together. Now, since I'm here as chairman of the Pakistan Engineering Council, maybe our elders in 1976, when the act of the Pakistan Engineering Council was approved, was passed by the parliament then, they had this vision. There's no other council in Pakistan where the act reads out as that the Pakistan Engineering Council will act as the think tank for the federal government, as the eyes of the federal government, as the ears of the federal government, as the brain for the federal government. Of course, a very, very effective, very, very articulate, very, very competent bureaucracy is always there because of the system. We have a great armed forces, but the engineers of Pakistan and the Pakistani Engineering Council was delegated, was assigned the task to work as the brain, as the think tank, as the maghaz for the federal government. Otherwise, they are blinded. Otherwise, they are lost. They can't be navigated. They can't see. But unfortunately, while we have so many successful engineers, I see a lot of faces here in this hall who, alhamdulillah, on the 18th of October, were also given by the President of Pakistan the Excellence Award in the field, from the PEC in the field of engineering. And there are so many others who deserve to be awarded. But unfortunately, in the decision-making process, in the core engineering areas, engineers were not involved. The people who were taking the decisions, be them politicians, I'm part of one of them, sitting in the parliament for the last 4+ years, be them bureaucrats, I interact with them, in the different, ministries and others, be that our friends from the armed forces, who were non-engineers but taking core engineering decisions, whether they were matters of energy, whether they were matters of core engineering areas. How can this happen if I have a problem in my eye? I would be just looking for an eye specialist. My real brother can be a best cardiologist in the world. I wouldn't go to him. For my problem in my ear, I'll go in an ENT. So there were experts out there. And I'm talking why we couldn't be sustainable, why we are failing, why we are collapsing, why we are going in circles, why we are into a zero-sum exercise where we build and then we, we demolish that, or, it is washed off, or it doesn't work for the purpose it is built. So somehow the engineers were not given that due importance which they deserved. It was the need of the nation. Of course, we call ourselves 220 million people. About 3 or 4 days back, I heard our finance minister say 230 million. Maybe we are 230 million. Someday we will really find out how many exactly we are. But whether 220 million or 230 million, we remain the 5th largest nation in the world. And we keep growing in population. So, the realization has to come home. And of course, all our professionals around, while we have done so well for ourselves, me as a constructor, some of people here as academicians, they achieved laurels, some in other fields of consultancy, some maybe became lieutenant general in the armed forces. But as a community, as a fraternity, we could not be recognized that these are the people, these are the elites, these are the best, these are the specialists who must be consulted. I'm glad to let you know, and most of you would already know, that Pakistan is among the only single nation in the world, the Islamic country, who has a Pakistan Academy of Engineering, which is a full member of the International Councils of Academies of Engineering. Only PhDs can be fellow of that academy. But why, when it comes to our water policy, we don't take lateral inputs with people who have that knowledge, that know-how, and who can really give us that fine input to design our water policy. With the result, whatever happened in Balochistan, Sindh, in parts of Punjab, KPK. So Pakistan Engineering Council in the last month had a brainstorming session. I invited mostly experts, PhDs in the area of water, in the, who had understanding about all these environment and water resources and how to regulate them and how to use that natural resource given by Allah effectively for the people of Pakistan. So we have made like 4 committees, and I've written a letter to the chief secretaries of all the 4 provinces that these are the people, you must involve them and then study what the problem was. Because now when we will go for rebuilding and rebudgeting and redevelopment, at least we should find out where did we go wrong. Maybe the locations where these things were built, maybe we need to change so that, we don't keep learning at the cost of the poor people of Pakistan. So that action was taken. Similarly, poor contracts, lopsided contracts, where the liability, concept of liability is not there. With the result, you'll be surprised to know that as we are talking, nearly all the projects in Pakistan, all over the country, where they are public sector development projects or, corporate investment projects, have been shelved, they are stopped, they are stuck. So I wrote a letter to all the chief secretaries and the chief ministers as chairman of the Pakistan Engineering Council. The law gives me that, that initiation, that it empowers me because I have to guide them. When I say I talk about Pakistan Engineering Council as an institution. 66 members, council, that way, 40 odd directly elected, 6, in the hierarchy, and 20 nominated. The best amongst the best from public sector, private sector, universities, academia, and from the armed forces. So we are guiding them. We've taken the lead. And what I want all of you to realize, that Allah has bestowed upon us that responsibility. We are the elitists. We are the learned. Like if there is a medical emergency, and in an aeroplane up there in the sky, and there is a doctor sitting over there, and somebody, the crew calls, is there a medical doctor or some medical help out there? And if the doctor doesn't get up and the life is lost, there's a big loss out there. So that responsibility, we will have to raise our level. We need to understand that if we don't act, unfortunately, there will be nothing sustainable. Unfortunately, the 220 million people will not even get clean drinking water. The cost of the energy is prohibitive because the energy mix was so poor, and we went for, of course, the environment is very, very, very important, but we need to see that whatever we are producing, as our affordability, as our buying power increases, so that, we have to match that. Unfortunately, the cost of energy is so high. So right now, again, we are there with a challenge. All engineers and mostly professionals out here, the challenge remains where we are into 2022, okay, the 21st century challenge. And for universities and professors, and I'm very pleased to admit this thing, that the contribution of Dr. Sarosh Lodhi, he takes the initiative, he takes the leap forward. And when it comes to areas like green buildings, he's providing that leadership out there. And I have a lot of expectations from their faculty and from the universities who will be taking care of these specialist areas of water, energy, petroleum, communications, IT, food security, of course. An agricultural country, and we can't manage our own agricultural produce, and now we have to take the leap forward. And we are looking forward for the universities. We have assigned the Pakistan Academy of Engineering, you've given them an assignment, the task to look into the future technologies. Now the world is talking about robotics, the artificial intelligence. I'm not saying that civil engineers and electrical engineers should pack their bags, but we have to compete. We have to take the leap forward, and we have, like the frog hopping or the frog leaping or the frogging, we can't keep creeping. We won't be reaching anywhere. So these challenges will remain there. And let me tell you that all these studies, all these contributions, and collectively, the other day I was there at the Federal Ministry of Planning and Development, and I was having a meeting with them. So there were two secretaries, one full secretary and one additional secretary. So while we were talking, I learned that both of them were engineers. They were bureaucrats who, after their BS or BE, went for this competitive exam and became, the secretary. So I asked them, what's the problem? Are you ashamed of being an engineer? Why don't you write ENGR engineer like the most doctors do? Dr. Jahanzeb, he was deputy chairman of the Planning Commission, was a medical doctor. He is a medical doctor, but he writes Dr. Jahanzeb. Dr. Imran Zeb was a Secretary of Housing and Works. He was a medical doctor. They write doctor. So I urge upon you, all the engineers, to take pride at this hour, when this country is having big crisis, we don't have dollars. The problem is one. We have to reduce our imports and we have to increase our exports. There's no other way, there's no other solution, but we have to earn dollars or, to foot our bill or to keep that balance on our side. So with these things and the challenge is lying with the engineers, and of course, good things will come. The World Bank is there, the Asian Development Bank is there. The countries who are ahead of us, be it Turkey, be it Malaysia. The other day, some Austrian friends were visiting me from Dubai. They're commercial counselor and two businessmen, you know. There is an overflow in most parts of the world. The economies in the region, in the Middle East, elsewhere are saturated because the population is not that big. So they want to come, they want to help, but we have to, build walls. We have to design such things. We have to make good agreements. And I have a lot of expectations and the doors of the Pakistan Engineering Council for anything and everything. You know, now we are also for these sustainable things. Now, unfortunately, from the past, we were issuing licenses to the consultants, to the constructors, but there was no system in place to monitor after that. So now we are putting a place to enforce and monitor, and let us hope and pray that this, from the resources of this poor country, whatever is utilized, we are watchful of it, and you know how we use those resources in building the sustainable infrastructure, and how when we plan our new communities, we take into account for how the rest of the world has done their development. And social housing is one of the core areas, because the problem, whether that's Islamabad, Karachi, Lahore, all larger cities, because in the absence of the social housing, these kachi abadis took place. Like if we, on the seaside, we built great houses, apartments for that matter, 100 million rupees, 150 million rupees. Maybe every house has 4 or 5 servants. The maid, the driver, Saab ka driver, Begum Sahib ka driver, cook and all others. Where will they live? So, you know, a lot of regulation has to come in place. The regulating bodies have to come into place. The universities who have a resource of all the best professors, etc., the academia, industry, management, and for the engineers, yesterday I was in Multan, and there were 50 universities, Dr. Saab, out there, and and we had selected some 350 projects from the final year students, where Pakistan Engineering Council is funding their projects of research and development. The projects certified by a committee coming from all the 50 universities, so that these students, with the help of their professors, with the help of their, externals who are, and again, competent people, would do some research and development work, some innovation, some startups might come up. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have to do our bit, and I hope and pray that, inshallah, NAD has always smiled, and they've always taken an initiative. I mean, all the agencies of the world are there to help. But first, we need to help ourselves, and hopefully, engineers will take that lead and will demand. And we are fighting some battles elsewhere also for the engineers. Recently, if you guys have read it, the Balochistan High Court, has given a judgment where on all development projects, project directors would be only engineers. Because we have taken it so simple, so easy, that maybe health matters are critical, fatal, because somebody might, but engineering is very, very critical, crucial, and engineers have to take charge for some time in this country, in the core engineering areas, so that we can get out of the hole, and when down the line, when there are some younger engineers sitting out here, when they grow older, we are no more an underdeveloped country or a developed country. And Pakistan, inshallah, realizing its potential one day, will be part of the developed world, inshallah ta'ala. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would now request our honorable guest of honor, His Excellency Dr. Jun Hunkoro Hadiningrat, Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia, to please come forward for his address. We are very pleased to have His Excellency's presence at this conference. We welcome you, sir.
Dr. Saros Lodi, Vice Chancellor of NET University of Engineering, all the academician, professor, NET University, and all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, especially previous speaker, Mr. Najis Harun, and also representative from World Bank and some resource person and speakers. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's really a privilege and an honor that Indonesia representative in Karachi has floor in such a conference, international conference, to share some views that actually our common concern as a country, developing countries like Pakistan. As the topic implies that sustainable engineering, I understand this is a process of designing an operating system that doesn't compromise the natural environment. Something become our common concern as country and also Indonesia. But for information, Indonesia is the country when a year we need like 12 million houses. And every year we have demand like 700 houses per year, and this is also challenging for our country. And as the topic of this seminar, it encompasses about our daily life and environment, such as water supply, food production, housing, sanitation, waste management, and energy development and transportation. This is actually is very big topics to address in today's conference, but I would like to specify in what we become the concern of global community is whether or not our development meets Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. Because the development will implies with corrosion, environment, flood, traffic jam, water crisis, and food security. This is also happen in Indonesia. And if I may recall what happened in G20 leader meeting, just happened this month, in 15 to 16 November 2022, under Indonesia chairmanship, the global leaders has committed to combine and make joint effort between environmental friendly usage of technology to meet SDGs target. And this is also our concern as the next year, Indonesia will be the chair of the ASEAN, or Southeast Asia countries. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, all leaders in the world committed to finding solutions to achieve energy market stability. Now, currently, especially, we find disruption by Russia and Ukraine crisis. We need energy transparency and energy affordability. Something will happen also in Pakistan, in Karachi, how we get very affordable energy. This will be done through accelerating transition and achieving the climate objective by strengthening energy supply chain and energy security by diversifying energy mix and system. The leader of G20 also commit to rapidly scale up the development of zero and low emission power generation. I think previous speaker already touched this issue, but I just want to underline what happened in Bali 2 weeks ago. Scale up the development of zero and low emission power generation, including renewable energy resources and measure to enhance energy efficiency, abatement technology as well as removal technology, which also come into account. and the leader of G20 committed to strengthen international cooperation as well as relevant producer-consumer dialogue and securing energy affordability. I excuse to revert to international norm because that's my field as the diplomat, that also become a concern of global population. And the dialogue also discussing about accessibility energy, limiting volatility in energy prices, and scaling up clean, safe, and inclusive and sustainable technology, including developing regional energy interconnectivity. As we know that experience now, there's some negotiation between countries just to get access if the country is suffering for lack of energy. So energy become our immediate concern. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, the government of Indonesia also held Research and Innovation Expo, and last month the expo with the theme Digital, Green and Blue Economy. This is research and food innovation, and I'm glad we have some researcher from Indonesia coming to this participation under auspices of ICCBS and Comstek. So thank you for joining in Pakistan Research Cooperation. And we also have the body for the national research, maybe like Pakistan, Agency for Research Innovation, they call BRIN, under the president. Basically, Indonesia and Pakistan also have common concern to expect development cooperation. And thanks for university cooperation and NET University planning to develop cooperation with Indonesia University. We have some university also, which also in top 500 in the world, and including in technology. And currently with Comstek, under Comstek, we have 12 researchers, lecturer and student, currently with us today in this meeting, and they also will participate in Islamabad International Conference. And also, please kindly refer that Indonesia also now have environmental problem. Now, currently this week we got this earthquake in West Java, which claimed lives like 900 something. So last time our Indonesia NDMA come to Pakistan to help you in the flood victim. Now they back to Indonesia for having these calamities. So basically, this is actually challenge, that continuous challenge, how to balance between development and also sustainable development. I hope that through our existence in Karachi and also our mission in Islamabad, Indonesia Pakistan can still continue cooperation. As member of global citizen, we also want to have target of SDGs. And as the country will also have challenge with the position in the ring of fire, when we are very vulnerable to earthquake, tsunami, and so on. Indonesia, a part of continue to develop target 1 million house a year. We have to balance, we have to allocate budget for development. So to this, I would like once again congratulate to the committee for helping this program, and also thanks for participants to listen a bit about Indonesia. And to conclude, Indonesia, Pakistan, Jindabad. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, sir. I would now request the Honorable Vice Chancellor, NED University of Engineering and Technology, Dr. Sarosh Hashmat Lodhi, and the Conference Chair of the International Conference on Sustainable Energy and Development 2022, along with Engineer Suhail Bashir, Conference Co-Chair and the Chairman Institutions of Engineer Pakistan, Karachi Center, to please come forward for the presentation of the sustainability gifts for our esteemed speakers and guests. The sustainability gifts includes indoor planter, a bag produced at NED University of Engineering and Technology from wrappers of potato chips, along with conference material that is printed on recycled paper. All right.
Special bag made out of this waste of potato chips.
Right, sir. The sustainability gift includes an indoor planter that is made with sustainable material, along with a bag that is produced specially at NED University of Engineering and Technology from the waste of the wrappers of potato chips, along with the conference material that is being printed on recycled papers. We are presenting these gifts to our esteemed speakers and guests. I would now request Mr. Faisal Ahmed, Secretary Planning from Planning and Development Department, Government of Sindh, to please come forward to receive the sustainability gift. Sir. I would now request Mr. Christoph Kreppen, Practice Manager, Environment, Natural Resources and Blue Economy South Asia, to please come forward to receive the sustainability gift that includes a planter and the bag made at NED University of Engineering and Technology from recycled material. I would now request our Honorable Chief Guest, Engineer Mohammad Najib Haroon, Chairman, Pakistan Engineering Council, to please come forward to receive his sustainability gift that includes a pot and the bag made by NED University of Engineering and Technology with wrappers of potato chips. I would now request His Excellency Dr. June Konkoro Hadiningrat, Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia, to please come forward to receive his sustainability gift. His gifts include a potter made with sustainable material and a bag produced at NED University of Engineering and Technology from the waste product of wrappers of potato chips. I would now request Engineer Abbas Sajid, Past President, ASHRAE Pakistan Chapter, to please come forward to receive his sustainability gift. His sustainability gift includes a potter made with sustainable material and a bag made with potato chips wrapper at NED University of Engineering and Technology. I would now request Dr. Noman Ahmed, UNESCO Chairholder, Sustainable Urban Region, to please come forward to receive his sustainable gift, which includes a sustainable indoor planter and a bag produced at NED University of Engineering and Technology from wrappers of potato chips. I would now request the Chief Guest Engineer, Mr. Mujib Haroon, Chairman PEC, to please come forward for the presentation of the sustainable gifts to our Chair and Co-Chair. I would now request Dr. Sarosh Hashmat Lodi, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, NED University of Engineering and Technology, and the Conference Chair of the International Conference on Sustainable Engineering and Development 2022, to please receive the sustainability gift, which includes a recyclable sustainable material potter, and a bag produced at NED University of Engineering and Technology with wrappers of potato chips. I would now request the conference co-chair, Engineer Suhail Bashir, Chairman, Institution of Engineers, Pakistan, Karachi chapter, to please come forward to receive his sustainability gift. His sustainability gift includes a sustainable material potter and a bag made with recycled material from potato chips at NED University of Engineering and Technology. Thank you, sir. I would now request the conference co-chair, Engineer Suhail Bashir, Chairman, Institution of Engineers, Pakistan, Karachi chapter, to please come forward to present the vote of thanks.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I start in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent. His Excellency Dr. June Konkoro Hatingrat, Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia, Engineer Najib Harun, Chairman Pakistan Engineering Council, Mr. Christoph Krippen, Representative of World Bank, Mr. Faisal Ahmed Ukeli, Secretary Planning, Government of Sindh, respected Dr. Sarosh Hashmat Lodi, Vice Chancellor, NED University of Engineering and Technology, Dr. Noman, UNESCO Chair for Sustainable Urban Regions, Engineer Abbas Sajid, representing ASHRAE and Associate Partner of ICSED 2022, Dr. Mohammad Tufail, Pro-Vice Chancellor, NED University, Mr. Ali Tawqir Sheikh, Climate Change and Environment Expert and a Keynote Speaker of ICSED 2022, Dr. Nasir Javed, Urban Development Specialist and a Keynote Speaker of ICSED, Mr. Murid Rahmoon, Secretary University and Boards, Government of Sindh, Admiral Shah Masood Sohail, Admiral Imdad Jafri, Mr. Farad Adil, President-elect, the Institution of Engineers, Pakistan, Mr. Ayaz Mirza, Vice President, Institute of Engineers, Pakistan, our visiting guest from Lahore, Mr. Engineer Masood Ali Khan, Chairman, Institute of Engineers, Pakistan, Lahore, Mr. Zagam Rizvi, Engineer Afzal Goraya, Secretary IIP, Lahore, my respected Professor Dr. Muzaffar Mahmood, former Pro-Vice Chancellor, NED University, Professor Dr. Sabzada Farooq Ahmed Rafiqi, former Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor, NED University and former Chairman, Institution of Engineers, Pakistan, Karachi Center, Mr. Nusrat Nasab, CEO, Aga Khan Agency for Habitat and a keynote speaker of this conference, Ms. Sabine Shah, Angro Foundation. She is doing wonders in third area through educational interventions for the underprivileged communities. Dr. Abdul Jabbar Sangi, Conference Secretary, Dr. Farooq Arif, Co-Secretary of this conference, distinguished guests, fellow professionals, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Well, it's my pleasure and duty to thank all of you for attending this inaugural session. Before I move forward, I'll just give you a small brief about this conference on sustainable engineering and development. I think probably a year before, myself and Dr. Sarosh were traveling in another conference, and there we decided that we should have this conference. And then when we started this conference, we had a discussion with the chairperson of the Planning and Development Board, Government of Sindh, Mr. Hassan Naqvi, and he readily agreed to and said that he would like to be part of this conference. And today, we are really proud that many international and national experts have come together for this conference, wherein all these 16 goals and plus the 17th goal, which is the joining all, we will be presenting in various sessions, which includes the session on sustainable cities and urban regions, poverty and hunger alleviation, human equality, sustainable health care, aquatic and earth life sustainability, education and sustainability, law and justice, and then Design Equitable Partnership Project, which is the 17th goals and activities on regional and international level. To develop the partnerships on the regional and international level, already World Bank is part of this conference, and the SDG support unit of Government of Sindh, along with World Bank and UNDP, are part of it. UNESCO chair is part of it, and you just heard the very wise talks from His Excellency, the Consul General of Republic of Indonesia. So, all in all, what we are trying to do is to create a platform where we can all work together to save our planet and to give to our next generation a safe planet. Because right now, the society and the people are consuming everything from this planet and not repaying it, not saving it. So recently in the COP27, many issues were discussed in Egypt, and one of the goals set up in the COP27 is to make this planet net zero by 2050. This can only be achieved through the collaborative arrangements among all the people, among all the organizations, among all the nations. This cannot be done in isolation. So I think that this conference will provide a very good opportunity for the people, for the thinkers, for the, as pointed out by Mr. Engineer Najib Haroon, that now we have to work together to save not only this country, not only this continent, but the whole world, because the resources are depleting at a very fast pace. And the way the population is increasing, probably people used to say that the next wars will be on water. The availability of water is, and now the climate change is also giving lot of tasks to think about what to do about this. Recently, I think yesterday and day before, there was a huge rain in Makkah and Jeddah area. All was flooded, and we have experienced recently the unprecedented rains. It was not the flood, but it was the water downpouring, and it created havoc all over Sindh. So all in all, I thank all of you for participating and look forward for your active participation in today's session, to be followed by the inaugural session, and also in tomorrow's sessions, where you will hear very, I think, important and experienced talks from the experts, and to develop an agenda for cooperation, for the futuristic things to be done through this conference. I thank all of you for your patient hearing. Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you, sir. The organizing committee, along with collaborators and the organizing partner, are requested to gather for the conference photograph. I would request Mr. Faisal, Mr. Christophe Crepin, Engineer Mohammad Najib Haroon, His Excellency Dr. June Konkoro, Dr. Sarosh Hashmat Lodi, Engineer Suhail Bashir, Engineer Abbas Sajid, Dr. Noman Ahmed, to please come forward for the organizing members committee picture. All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of the session of the International Conference on Sustainable Engineering and Development 2022. The honorable guests are requested to move towards the tea area. We will resume our keynote session at 5:20 p.m. Thank you.
उठा लो मगरब के टाइम पे देखना ये तान सेंटर में रवीर साहब से पूछना